My friends out there in TV land, this is Senior Issues, etc. I'm your host, Vita Verdon, and boy, have I got a hot one for you today. I read all your emails, and I answered all your letters and the phone calls. I don't have a crew that does this. I personally do that. And boy, it just keeps coming at us. Those scams, everybody out there, they want our money and they want to steal it from us. And what I have is an expert with us today, and he's the best around. He's a lawyer who worked in litigation for 30 years, and he represents us at the Better Business Bureau, and he's going to give us all the ins and outs of the scams and what's trying to hit us today. His name is Irv Capitel, and I'm so happy that we could hook up with him and have him with us today. Thank you, Irv. It's so nice that you're with us today. And the viewers out there, first of all, I know how they are. We've become friends over the last 13 years, so they'd like to know a little bit about you. So if you could tell us a little bit about yourself, look right into that camera there.
Well, I am a senior officially, and I live in the area. I've lived out here for probably 40-some years. And 10 years ago, I went with the Better Business Bureau because I wanted to move into an arena which allowed me to help to make peace in the world, which is a very difficult process. And the digital age has brought some things that probably are not as pleasant as we might like them to be.
So 10 years ago, are you married? Do you have
I am not currently married. I have 2 children and 3 grandchildren.
Okay, well, you know what I want you to do? I want you to blow into the camera 3 kisses for your 3 grandchildren. Oh, that's good.
Thank you for the opportunity. I love them.
Oh, good. And then they can see, is it Grandpa or Papa?
Papa.
Papa. They can see Papa on television, and they'll just scream when they see you blowing those kisses. So you're with the Better Business Bureau. And for the benefit of anyone out there who, I can't imagine who that could be, who aren't aware, maybe you could give us a definition of the Better Business Bureau and a little bit about them, okay?
Better Business Bureau is a not-for-profit corporation that has been around since approximately 1912. In Chicago, we are a bureau that has been here since 1926, and we cover northern Illinois, the 19 counties of northern Illinois, which is approximately 8.7 million people. And what we try to do is to create an environment of doing business where the people who come on to the Better Business Bureau as members pledge that they will perform their service in a particular trustworthy and ethical manner.
It's a standard. It keeps a high standard.
It does.
Right?
It keeps a very, very high standard, and those members who do not achieve or maintain that standard will be asked to leave. And that's unfortunately a regular process, and in order for them to be a member, they have to go through a series of checks and investigations that indicate that they are duly licensed, that they are trustworthy, that they are in an ethical position to handle all of the complaints and problems that are lodged. Hopefully they don't have any complaints or problems because they are available to do those things to deal in the most ethical manner with the customer or the client. We have professionals who are members also.
So this is an organization that has a structure of high standards that can be benefit to the grouping of the segment of society that we're seniors, that they can help us if we have dealt with some sort of business transaction that was done on an unethical basis?
Well, if there's a complaint.
If there's a complaint.
And they file the complaint with the Better Business Bureau, we have a system in place that will transmit that complaint to the business, that will expect the business to generate a response, and we hope to get those things resolved within 60 days.
Well, let me ask you this. The area, the arena that we hope to, well, we can't cover it because it's so vast, but dip into today to make people aware of is scams and frauds. Is that correct?
That's correct. That's correct.
Okay. Now, I know that as seniors, we're the vulnerable, we're targeted, and that you were showing me today. Maybe you could go over the 10
sure.
top, the 10.
Sure. The 10 top scams as were discovered by virtue of complaints with the BBB.
Yeah.
And this comes from approximately 20 million contacts with people during the course of the year that the BBB has. I'll just read them off so that you get some advanced information. The number one is work-at-home schemes. And of course, seniors are trying to make a little extra income, and they kind of reach out and try to generate some income. And people who are telling them that they need to buy kits and they need to do things in order to work at home, those are things that you need to watch out for. There are advanced fee brokers who want to have you pay some money to them to do your credit restoration.
Well, let's explain advance fee. They want the money ahead of time, right?
They want to get paid in advance.
They want to get paid in advance.
That's right. And many of these unscrupulous people disguise themselves as lawyers, because lawyers are the only ones who can generate a retainer agreement with the client, and checking these people out, checking out whomsoever you want to do business with the BBB can only be a benefit, and it can only reduce the risk that you might have in the
I want to
marketplace.
ask you a question. When you say disguise themselves as a lawyer, that means they're not laurs? Or they're unethical lawyers? Or it could be a variety,
It
right?
could be a variety of circumstances or situations.
I just want to make it clear.
There are a lot of law firms that advertise for the purposes of debt resolution that are very legitimate. And those people can be checked out as legitimate with a phone call to the Better Business Bureau or a phone call to the ARDC, the organization that regulates lawyers in the state of Illinois,
right?
To find out what if any problems they have or what kinds of complaints they have against them. So this is something really to be concerned about. Generally speaking, if a senior is going to do business with anybody for any reason, a phone call to the BBB will not be a waste of time.
All right. Now, what is some of the other ones?
Some of the other ones are, well, these are credit repair services, prize promotions, foreign lotteries, office supplies. There are people, these people who do at-home businesses. They'll be discovered by various individuals, and they will be asked that they will be called to purchase certain office supplies, which may be low grade and very high priced. They're trying to generate a contact through what is called phishing, PHSHING, which is a method of using information that's gathered from various different sources in order to generate information about the individual that they want to scam. And it makes it sound more legitimate from the individuals. And remember, these people are very, very skilled at computer use. They're very skilled at psychological use. They're very skilled at trying to convince people to buy what they want them to buy. And there are scams that involve prize winnings. These kinds of things should never be accepted. Seniors especially, they're very often lonely. They very often have many friends who have passed on, and they're looking for things to do. They're looking for entertainment. And working and talking to people on the phone can be entertainment. We had a little conversation before about the politeness of the senior group It's not impolite to hang up the phone when some of these people that you don't know are trying to generate information about you that they can use later. And when you flip on the switch to turn on your computer, it's like opening your window to the world. The skilled individuals of the world can actually find their way into your computer if you let them, and don't make it easy for them. Do not make that easy for them. Do I have time to give you an example?
No, because I think that we're going into my pearls of wisdom. We're going to come back to that, though, okay? So now what we're going into is what I call Vita's Pearls of Wisdom. And in my Pearls of Wisdom, one thing I wanted to talk about is, now, I myself, you've known me for a while. I'm 80 years old, and I came from a nice conservative Italian family that, how my mother and father taught me, you have to be polite and you have to answer everybody's questions. That was true then. But in today's worldview, what we have to do is a real key when I answer my phone, if the person on the phone says to me, "And Vita, how are you today?" Ding! The red light goes on, and the bell goes off, and I don't have to say, "I'm fine, how are you?" That isn't necessary. What I ask is, who are you, and what do you want? And what they want is they want to steal our money. And they're very clever in manipulating us, because here we are, we're old, we have that childhood politeness, and we're living now in an age that is computerized and is targeted the seniors to scam us. Now, I am on the computer. I get every day anywhere from 2 to 10 emails from South America, from China, from Africa, and any email that has an attachment on it that says undisclosed sender, that means that all they have from some list, who knows what, my email address, but they don't have any information about me. So once you open up that attachment, you're giving them a bigger access to your world. The first thing I do is delete, delete, delete. It's better to delete. And when they tell you, we have $1 million deposited in a bank in Australia, if it's like too good to be true, it's not true. It's not true at all. You're not, and they're getting at, and this is what I think that our learned lawyer is going to tell us about, our greed button. And everybody is looking to have more. But what we have to do is we have to be vigilant, and we have to take responsibility for our own behavior. We don't have somebody there looking out for us to say, no, do this, that. That is our responsibility. That is our responsibility to know how to handle ourselves and not be victims of these scams and fraud. Now we're going to get back to Irv, and he's going to tell us more that he's got on our list. Can we go back to that and finish up on there?
We can go back to
this is the camera I want you to pay attention to. They don't pay attention over there.
We can go back. You are a real expert on this. The delete issue is very important, extremely important. And the vigilance that we need, especially as seniors, everybody needs to be vigilant, but seniors are such a targeted group that they really have to think before they push any buttons. They really have to be vigilant in terms of going over their credit card bills. They have to be vigilant in going over their bank statements. When they make bank deposits, they need to follow the balances to make sure that there's no untoward activity. People are going to buy this insurance about identity theft, which may or may not be a benefit. I have no opinion on that. The amount of scamming that has generated in the last year has gone way over $54 billion. It's billion with a B, and it has affected some 30 million people. That's approximately 10% of the entire population of the United States. And Vida, you talked about Africa and Asia. These are coming from all over, everywhere in the world. There are tens of thousands of people who are very, very skilled in doing this and understanding how vulnerable seniors are. There are some legitimate programs that people come to seniors about, and before you do anything, before you sign anything, before you push any buttons, call the BBB or call your own personal lawyer so that you will get a trusted expert's advice about what you're doing. Even banks, when some of these scammers will send you a check for one reason or another, and you deposit that check in the bank, that doesn't necessarily mean the check is good. You have to wait until you get a clearance from the bank before you decide to spend the money, because if you don't, and you overdraw your account, you're going to generate tremendous number of expenses that are totally unnecessary, that it could have been avoided with a phone call, either to the BBB or to your local your lawyer. There are frauds that talk about checks from the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, and some people will give notices from the Internal Revenue Service on the computer. The IRS will never send you a computer notice on your computer.
On your email.
On your email.
Another
Never.
thing is, another thing that I know I've had tried on me is you have this much money in deposit, but you need to pay the taxes first. So if you send like $400 or $500, you can get $50,000. That's a lot of baloney.
That is baloney, and you'd actually be better off taking your $500 that you were going to send them and buy baloney with it, because
Right.
at least you have something to eat for a snack.
Right. That's true.
But the vigilance is really what is important. And when you have personal documents, don't throw them out in the garbage. Invest in a shredder. That's probably the most wonderful piece of equipment that you could buy, and they're very inexpensive. And you can shred your documents. The BBB once or twice a year has shredder days. They may be inconvenient for this location, but there are other organizations. There are banks who really want to take care of their customers and have shredding. There are organizations, office supply organizations, that do shredding for you if you have large shredding. Shredding is extremely important. You need to get rid of all of the personal information that could go out into the general world. When you really think about how much information you have in the general world, it's astounding. Every time you go to a hospital and you check in to take an x-ray, you don't know who's sitting in the room. There might be somebody there who's taking down all of your information. And when you go to the desk to register, and this is no fault of anybody in the hospital or the x-ray people, they may take advantage of this kind of a situation where they say, what is your name? How old are you? What's your birthday? And these are identifying issues that they need to accumulate in order to provide the service that you're there for. And make sure that you kind of look around and make sure that there's nobody there that's really taking down this information.
And I know that scams have been around for a long time. Do you know approximately how long they've been around?
I'm actually very happy you asked that. When I started this, I really didn't know what scam meant. I thought it was an acronym, the initials meant something. But I did a lot of research, and thankfully I have a lot of research availability. And scams, the first record of a scam was in the year 1588.
Isn't that something?
And it was called the Spanish prisoner scam. It was people sending out notes, letters. There were no other communication devices in those days, saying that they were a prisoner in a Spanish jail and they needed money to bribe the guards so that they could get out. So please send me some money. Now, that has been modified over the years, and I'm sure everybody has heard about getting emails that say a friend has been assaulted in the Philippines, and they need to have their passport, their money, everything was stolen. Would you please send money to XYZ? do not respond to those emails. Under any circumstances, follow Vita's advice and delete them. Because what you need to do, if you really have a friend in the Philippines that you know is there, then call a friend of the family and find out if this is true. Do not act until you absolutely have the facts. Do not act until you absolutely have the facts. And I'm not stuttering, I said it twice because it's very, very important. They have something that's actually called a granny scam, where a young person will call on the phone as a friend of somebody's grandchild and say, oh, we're in trouble, and they gave me your name, and all of this has been information that's been developed as a result of this phishing business. And they will cause some very serious concern about people.
Uh-huh.
I had this kind of a circumstance happen to me on my computer, which is now no good anymore because they really destroyed it. And there were messages from the FBI that said if I didn't pay them $200 right away, they were going to shut down my computer. My computer can't be connected to the internet any longer, and it's wasteful. It's just a paperweight. And if it could happen to me, it could happen to anybody, because we take all of the precautions that are necessary in order to make sure that these things don't happen. And the extent of invasion that can come into your life through the use of that computer when you're not vigilant, when you're not cautious, when you're not aware of what things can happen to you is very prevalent, and you really need to be aware. So please be vigilant.
Oh, well, I know another thing is, like, if you get a phone call from a bank and they say they want your information, there isn't any bank that wants to get your Social Security number and your information. There isn't any bank that wants that.
Definitely.
You know, definitely not over the telephone.
If anybody calls you and asks for information, please ask for their phone number. And if they don't give you the phone number, then it's a scam call, for sure. If they do give you the phone number, then hang up and ask for a person to call, and call that number to find out if it's legitimate. Another personal, this is so rampant that I have been exposed in the last year to 4 different instances personally. I got a call at 7 o'clock at night from a medical organization that said that they were conducting a survey and they wanted information. And I said, I was never advised that you were taking a survey. I was never advised what information that you wanted. Give me your name and phone number and I will call you back to make sure the information is legitimate. And then, of course, there was a click on the phone. So somebody who knew I had something to do with that medical organization, and especially for seniors, we have regular places that we go, and they have turnover, and they have people who have access to the information. Or we tend to make photocopies. And when we go to a store and pay 10 cents a photocopy, those photocopies, that information is on a drum someplace, and it can actually be retrieved. So be careful where you make photocopies, be careful to whom you give information, and if anybody calls you for personal information, any personal information, tell them you'll call them back if they give you the phone number. Probably they won't. And then you can't forget it, except for the point of making sure you remember that, so that you remember to be vigilant. Go over your bank statements, go over your credit card bills. Make sure that you don't use ATMs to excess.
And I think it's important not to commit yourself to any fund-giving organization over the telephone to tell them to send it to you in writing.
Correct.
So you know the legitimacy of it all, right?
Actually, the BBB has a charitable organization arm. And if anybody has a question about the legitimacy of a charitable organization, or somebody asking for funds for one reason or another, tell them you call them back and call the BBB and find out if these people are legitimate and they have met the standards of the BBB to qualify them as a legitimate charitable organization. This is very important.
I have an interesting question for you. I know you have such a long background in litigation, and where does your passion lie, and how did you move position? Maybe you can kind of explain that to us in detail.
Approximately after 30 years of litigation, which is a warlike activity.
You're always fighting.
You're
right?
always fighting. Everybody's fighting, and sometimes the client's request for justice was not as much as I want to win and I don't care what it costs. When I used to hear that kind of thing, I used to be very, very leery and try to generate an understanding in the client that this is not the process that you want to make war in. When I left, when I closed my office, I wanted to do something that was generated towards making peace. Peace is a very, very wonderful state, and there are lots of people trying to get to figure out how to have a peaceful and serene understanding. And I had a relationship with the Better Business Bureau. At that time, I was an arbitrator for them, and talked to them about having a process that was going to expand into the dispute resolution area to help in getting to resolution, which is a very, very important issue, and that's what every lawsuit is about. And that's what generated this. Actually, you classified as a passion, and it is.
It is a passion.
The senior activities are very, very important, and they really need to understand that they have to be responsible for their own space. They have to find a method of serenity, and they can't let fear guide their lives. The greatest antidote to fear is education and experience. So we can't provide the experience, but we can help to provide the education, and we can help to provide an environment that people can call and have a reasonable understanding that the people that they're dealing with are ethical, trustworthy, and they have been in business for a long enough time so that we know how they handle their complaints. And that's the real essence of what the complaint handling and the peacemaking service is with respect to the BBB.
Well, now let's recap this. So I would say if we got a pearl of great price out of this, the key word is to be vigilant.
Yes.
Right? And then another step is to take information. And if you're in doubt, call the Better Business Bureau.
That's correct.
You can always call for information. But now we're going to have you back. It's so interesting. And when you come to the end of your rope, you know what you do? You tie a knot and hang on. You know why? Because the best is yet to come. And what we want you all to do this week is to catch the spirit. God bless you. We love you.